Dear audience, do subscribe to this channel and click on the notification bell so that you will be first notified when I upload a new video. This channel is to help you break away from any forms of subjectivity. Seeing things clearly and objectively will make you a calm and peaceful person. I am promoting the reflection process with logical thinking and to demonstrate how to do reflection process objectively with logical thinking. My question is, how do you do reflection? Did you just sit there and look back what you did, then try to analyze what you did wrong, or thinking what others did and how things went wrong? Well, the point is, in a lot of situations, it is not about right or wrong. It is a matter of what works. Even if it is right or wrong, then it is a matter of the angle of viewpoints. If the basis is subjective viewpoints or thoughts, it will be controversial. Like the idiom says, there are always two sides to every point. I think most of the time it is more than two sides. This channel is not about the topic. It is about doing reflection objectively. The topic is just to facilitate the reflection. It has 3 stages in this reflection process. Stage 1 is about facts and information. Stage 2 is about logical thinking, and stage 3 is about action plan. Any thinking without an action plan is meaningless, because ultimately it is about what you do next, how to adjust and move forward, how to improve and better towards success or goal. Do watch this video to the end, because the gist is in the conclusion. Don't skip. If you skip, you might not be able to understand the gist in the conclusion. In my previous video, I talked about the intrinsic world of Gen Z. The first thing I discovered was the dual mechanism in Gen Z, the logical thinking and emotion. Today, I would like to elaborate on this because this is the key aspect of Gen Z. We begin with stage 1, mindfulness. Stage 1, mindfulness. This is about facts and information. The topic today is the challenges of Gen Z, part 1. Here are what I saw. Gen Zers have the logical thinking and the emotion aspects. When they are on the logical thinking mode, they are good, because when they think, they reason and analyze. This is logical thinking, which means they can understand and reason well. Therefore, they can see the logic. They can see what makes sense. However, remember the dual mechanism. It depends on how balanced they are. These are what I saw. Category 1. Some were more into the emotional aspect. When facing unfavorable situation, they got bogged down easily by emotion. Category 2. Some were more balanced. When facing unfavorable situation, their minds could be blank and appear to be okay, but not really. They just don't know what to think, and emotionally, they could hold up for a while. Category 3. Some were more into logical thinking. when facing unfavorable situation, they could still think logically. They could calm themselves by understanding and reasoning the situation. They got into self-talk. What are the challenges? Let's move to stage 2 and stage 3, logical thinking and action plan. Stage 2 and stage 3, logical thinking and action plan. What are the challenges? What do you see from the 3 categories? Let's go through it one by one. Challenge number 1, self-blame. This is about the category 1. It is about the dual mechanism. Some are more into emotional aspect. In this category, the Gen Zers are more into emotional aspects. When facing unfavorable situation, they get bogged down by emotion easily. To see the logic, I have to bring in the millennials. The millennials are more emotional. When they get emotional, generally their ears are shut or half shut. They hear you, but they don't listen because at that point they are unable to think logically. Their minds will also shut or half shut. In general, they might get back to you after they calm down, but most of the time they don't. The millennials could be stubborn about what they think or what they see as a result of how they feel or what makes them feel. It is quite challenging to talk to the millennials logically, especially when they get emotional. This is why the millennials have less dilemma, because their logic is more towards the feelings. It is about what makes them feel good instead of what makes sense. They could agree with you and say that, yeah, it makes sense, but they still prefer sticking to how they feel. In addition, when they don't like what they hear, they could immediately shut you off, or turn their back against you, avoid you, or they could be hostile. Comparatively, the Gen Zers have the dual mechanism. They have the logical thinking aspect and the emotional aspect. Overall, I would think this is a good thing because the logical thinking is their savior. Here is the point. The Gen Zers in category 1 will fall into self-blame mode when facing unfavorable situation. Why do I say so? How it happens. Here are the common scenarios I saw. The Gen Z in this category 1, they tend to bog down easily by emotions when facing unfavorable situation. However, in hindsight, when they are alone, their logical thinking kicks in. This is the difference between the millennials and the Gen Zers. Even though the millennials could be doing reflection, their basis is still their feelings. But the Gen Zers will think logically. They will soon realize and see what they did wrong. But they couldn't help it. This is the dilemma. They see their problem. They see their mistakes, but they couldn't help it. More importantly, they want to be right. They want to do the right thing. They do have the sense of righteousness. Because of this, they get into self-blaming mode. This is the consequence of dilemma. They realize their mistake. They know their problems through logical thinking, but they could not help it. They can't stop it. That's why they blame themselves. Suggestion for action plan is help them to initiate logical thinking before doing anything. The problem is in this category 1, the Gen Zers initiate the logical thinking after the unfavorable situations have happened. Therefore, if they can make the best of their logical thinking and initiate it before doing anything, the chances of having unfavorable situations will be greatly reduced. The great thing about Gen Zers is they listen, even though when they get emotional. When they get emotional, if they are not comfortable with you, or if they are in a withdrawal mode, they just keep quiet and be silent. That's okay. Don't worry. Keep talking to them. Keep talking to them logically. They don't talk, but they listen, especially when you talk logically and make good sense. They will bounce back quickly. They will feel good and get over the negative emotions when they see the logic and when they hear what you say makes sense. Challenge number 2, being optimistic. This is about the Gen Zers in category 2. In this dual mechanism, they are more balanced when facing unfavorable situations. Their minds could be blank and appear to be okay, but not really. They just don't know what to think, but they could hold up their emotion quite well for a while, unlike the Gen Zers in category 1. The challenge is, how could you make them see that they can do better before they collapse? Why is it a challenge? Because they are not so emotional. Therefore, they think they're okay, but they cannot hold up for too long. Yes, they are more optimistic, but just temporary. Don't be misled by what you see. When you talk to them, you cannot count on your persuasive skill or convincing skill if you don't have the logic, because they do think logically. You can tell because they always respond by saying, yeah, it makes sense. In other words, you need to think logically and talk logically that makes sense to them. This is the way to talk to them. Suggestion for action plan is just talk logically. This is the way to communicate with them. This is the way to persuade them or to convince them. Challenge number 3, be excellent. This is about the Gen Zers in category 3. In this dual mechanism, they are more towards logical thinking because when they face unfavorable situations, they can still think logically. They calm themselves by understanding and reasoning. They get into the self-talk. The challenge is to outsmart them. Why is it a challenge? Of course, to outsmart them is a big challenge because they are intelligent and they have a strong desire to excel. They know what they want and their minds are clear because they are strong in logical thinking. Although they still have the emotional aspect, they have the control most of the time due to their ability to think logically when facing unfavorable situations. Therefore, to be able to help them, you really have to outsmart them. Otherwise, they will not take your words seriously. Suggestion for action plan is, do your homework before approaching them. Make sure you are stronger in logical thinking. Make sure you have what it takes to gain their respect. How to gain their respect? You must be able to walk into their hearts and also conquer their minds. Walking into their hearts is about making them feel good about you. And for them to feel good about you, you must be someone whom they can trust and look up to. Conquering their minds is about logical thinking. Talk logically and say things that make good sense. In conclusion, to deal with the dancers, the first challenge is to know the condition of the dual mechanism in them. That is, are they more into emotions, or are they more balanced, or are they more into logical thinking? Understanding the condition is one thing. Knowing how to interact with them or how to help them is another thing. The challenge of category 1, those who are in dilemma, is to help them initiate the logical thinking first before doing anything. This is to help them minimize the self-blaming. The challenge of category 2, those who are more balanced and more optimistic, is to make them see what they don't see by talking logically. This is the way to communicate with them. The challenge for category 3, those who are more towards logical thinking, is to outsmart them. Make sure you do your homework first. Make sure you are stronger in logical thinking, and make sure you have what it takes to gain their respect. To wrap up, logical thinking is the way to talk to the dancers. To interact with the dancers, not only you need to conquer their minds, more so, you need to walk into their hearts. This is the biggest challenge. Talk specifically with them, especially when they have a question. Generalization does not work. Don't fool them. They can tell and they want the real things. The best part of the dancers is when they don't feel good, when they don't agree with you, when they don't approve what you say, they will keep quiet. They will be silent. Or they might be reasoning with you, but they are not mean, at least most of them. Dear audience, do subscribe to this channel and click on the notification bell so that you will be first notified whenever I upload a new video. This channel is to help you break away from any forms of subjectivity. Seeing things clearly and objectively will make you a calm and peaceful person. I am Alicia Tay, a certified professional coach and an HRDF certified trainer. I am promoting a reflection process with logical thinking to gain clarity. I will continuously demonstrate reflection process with logical thinking in different topics. My concern is your way of doing reflection. I am concerned of the basis of interpreting reflection. Yes, looking into yourself is the first step of doing reflection, but be mindful of what is the basis of your thinking. Are you objective? Before you say yes, understand what is objective. Do you base on facts and information? Are your facts and information credible? Are you doing logical thinking, or you simply think about what others say? Learn to do reflection process objectively by watching Reflection Time with Alicia Tay, because reflection is the beginning of wisdom. Logical thinking leads to clarity. Clarity leads to wisdom. And wisdom leads to purity. Eventually, we want to be a wise person and we want to have a successful and peaceful life. Thank you for watching. See you in my next video.